Hello everyone, this is Ethan Dragon, and welcome back to another episode of Fire Emblem Heroes. Here we are, barely squeaking our way through to tier 38, but nonetheless we're able to do it, which is better than our usual weeks without a bonus mythic. So here we go. Reasonably large amount of replays this week again. This season I decided to goofball and create it's not even a save ball, it's just Mortis with some nukes. With incredibly terrible threat range, so nothing too mind-blowing here. We're just plonking score with these two. And we have infantry pulse, but we're using our new form of legendary Alm as well. Of course, it's not ideal, but it's better than nothing. We've been trying Duma out in column 2 just because I wanted to see if it's worth it. In this case here, we're unfortunately missed the column 3 bolt tower, which is definitely unfortunate, but what are you gonna do about it? I'm sure our opponent would have just went for the end turn, and at that point it's just a matter of stats. But unfortunately for them, somehow our Olivia is fast enough to double. Panic Manor probably contributed there. And at this point, they're able to exactly one-shot Legendary Nana, which is pretty bad for Fallen Edelgard, because of course, in this day and age, her gimmick is exactly still one-shotting units. But you don't have to one-shot, it's just a lot more simpler for gameplay when you can do that. At this point, you should be able to clean up. The only real threat is Legendary Julia's damage reduction after you factor in Healing Tower. But of course their Ultina gets taken out, she gets the most HP, and at this point, Regan's barely able to pick up the kill, but does so nonetheless. But in general on offense this week, pretty messy. We were running our usual double dancers in Plumeria and what's his name? Racing. Then we had the our bonus unit in Legendary Lilna. And then, of course, we had the shenanigans of Legendary Nana to deal with some damage reduction and just super tank threats. And last but not least, to round it out totally, Legendary Julia, so we have a chance at hitting end turn on some units. And overall, of course, the team was more hit and run based. Definitely had a lot of troubles throughout the season, just trying to fit in all the units we wanted. So that's just how it goes, but here Alm not having attack speed oaf 4 because I couldn't get it, or just any oaf, I didn't see any oafs in Hall of Horns. Really bites us there, but so be it. That's how it goes sometimes. And at that point, easy cleanup for our opponent here, and rip for us. But yeah, Legendary Lilna was useful this season for some chip damage with the AoE, and of course Bishi's bonus, her visible attack was reasonably high. The only problem is, of course, gifted magic scaling is not ideal. It's pretty only 0.8x versus the blazing special AoEs, which are 1.5x. It's almost double the damage. And when you consider that typically the differences between the visible stats are pretty large, that's a lot of damage you're missing out on. So that's how it goes. Of course, not like Odor's ever going to deal with Great Dimitri. It's amazing he manages to even do more than 0 damage there, but our next turn. The Mortis easy kill because, well, he's just stats, basically. That's why we never really bothered to max invest into him, just because he's just a bunch of stats. And at this point, the only thing they have to worry about is Legendary Alm and Legendary Julia. Legendary Julia missing the kill there, and unfortunately for them, sorry, he's able to, since Brave Dimitri heals, survive, nothing bad happens there, but of course they also had Paul and Leah support, so not really in danger of dying. Yeah, offense pretty sloppy. We made plenty of mistakes this week as per usual at this point, because we're just playing really fast nowadays. So you use as little time as possible while still reasonably picking up kills. I'm not sure what our opponent was trying to do there, but they didn't grab the second defense structure, so rip. We ended up just going for unit sacks a lot of times. A lot of them were not on purpose. I just overlooked something half the time. Lots of goofs. Like, the number one problem we ran into this week is I kept forgetting about Kanto control. I don't know why, but clearly that messed up our hit and run strats because we couldn't run. What are you gonna do? Your opponent decides to use the Harmonize skill, which is completely a waste of the Harmonize skill. It's not like she was going to struggle against Odor, and now that they don't have it, it's a huge problem. Just because all of the threats are rolling in, and they can take them down. It's not like they're super bulky, it's just that you have to be able to deal with follow-up, and the follow-up here is Legendary Julia versus Legendary Lilna, and I don't think it's going to go too well for our opponent here. That's a rip. But yeah, a lot of times it was also just the offensive pressure our opponents were exerting with mobility and whatnot. We didn't really have super strong capabilities for nuking, because Legendary Lilna generally useless in most matchups until we got rid of the far save unit. So basically a dead unit slot, and we're stuck with typically using Legendary Nana and Regan to pick up kills because of the far save unit generally not getting one round KO'd by either Julia or what's her name, Legendary Lilna. So we definitely had some problems there. Our opponent makes good use of Facer here to prevent Legendary Nana from doing any shenanigans. Not that it really matters at this point. It's not like most of our units are going to be able to match up with Tiki. But yeah, she's not one of those units where she's great until she isn't. Which sounds really silly, but that's really just how it is. If her techs get countered, for example, the fact that she prevents follow-up attacks, things can definitely go downhill, especially with brave weapons. Honestly speaking though, there really isn't a great way to balance brave weapons in this game. The only practical thing you can do is nerf stats. And so if you're going to... A lot of the old brave weapons, keyword is old brave weapons, had reduced might. Like, if you compare Brave Bow, which is Brave Bow Plus, which is I think 7 might or something, compared to the standard, I don't even know what the standard might is anymore, 12 might on a generic inheritable bow. Or is it 14 now? Clearly it's been too long, I don't remember. But that was one of the old ways they would nerf Brave weapons, but nowadays they are putting Brave effects, let alone dual phase Brave effects, on any weapon essentially, they feel like. So the might there doesn't even matter, and so they're generally just ridiculously strong. Legendary Sheds definitely can shred with quadding. 2 shots, not so much. And of course, you can't really do anything with damage reduction, because even on a buff where first attack against Brave weapons means the first or both attacks, you're still taking 2 attacks. Sure, you're reducing the damage of the second attack at least with such a buff, but you're still taking damage. That's the problem. And of course that does mean things like accelerating specials and whatnot. So, not ideal. Our opponent is pretty content with just hitting end turn, and I wouldn't blame him. Because no one on our team should be able to take out Brave Dimitri from a walling perspective. Although Odor gives him a slight run for his money, that's not really saying much. At this point, it's just a matter of the dreaded legendary Julia. She can be annoying, and unfortunately for them, Immortus with Nightmare is a bit too much of a nightmare, unintended. And here, Legendary Home doesn't have any way to prevent counters like Water Sweep, so 3 kills. And now it's just a matter of taking out Legendary Julia, which they can just keep attacking forever and it'll eventually work. Not too difficult for them here. At the end of the day though, just like this person's offense or our offense, you got a fixed amount of things you can do. For our opponent here, at least the things they can do reasonably well. Because for us, even from a nuking perspective, Regan misses plenty of kills now, especially since he's incredibly slow in this day and age. So doubling is not an option, and even with Sather Shell, he struggles to pick up kills, and pretty sad. That's how it is. Clearly, her remix is going to save her Tampa. I mean, the easiest buff they could do, clearly, is just on the upgraded version of Sather Shell. They're probably gonna name Sather Shell Plus. It just pierces damage reduction on proc. So if they want to go a more survival route, it gives her damage reduction. Because of course, the one problem nowadays is that she can't actually survive counters a lot, even though she has 30% damage reduction, which is pretty sad, but that's how it goes. Here, of course, Lucia is just walling everything, not too mind-blowing. She definitely struggles with speed, though. I've seen plenty of shenanigans where people will just chuck her in, even though they have fallen or legendary male Robin support, which is one of the only ways you can support her to get her more stats. Still loses just because her base stats are too low to compete with other units whose base stats are much higher. Like even this Lucia here, even if you ignore the debuffs, she only gets like in the 70s in speed, and in this day and age you really need 80s, and that's outside of ether raids. 80s outside of ether raids is considered reasonably fast. That's how far the game has come, hasn't it? Yep, so many things have changed since the beginning of the game for sure. That's just how it rolls when the game's been around for that long, but it's still ridiculous to think that 80 speed is normal as a generic fast unit. That's the thing. It's just a generic fast unit. Beneath the raids, of course, if you don't have like 100 speed or something, what are you doing? And if you have support, you should be going pretty sky high, gotta say. But here our opponent gets some nice bolt tower damage this turn. And of course Olivia is not going to really be doing anything here. They can just snipe down all the units they want to snipe down. And of course they have the hit and run option as well. So they're just going to run, there's no drawback here, there's no Wings of Mercy, spook bolt. Of course we don't have healing tower anymore because we broke it. So the bolt tower damage is there to stay. Speaking of bolt tower, we definitely used it quite a bit again this season, so we could pick up some kill. It's more for picking up one round KOs. It's not necessarily that we get completely walled by a unit that we can't kill. Most of the time we just need to initiate and then dance and attack again to pick up the kill. But of course in Ether Raids that's one too many actions required to pick up the kill. Especially when you're already outnumbered on offense, you can't be needing to have 2 actions to take out each of their core units. That's too much. But we're definitely, now that we did get some new tools for building a marginally better defense. But even if we build a new defense, we'll just goofball and show that you need a little more than just the newest meta units and slap them on a defense to make it a good defense. It definitely requires some thought into what you're up against. What do you want to counter? Because of course, if there existed a defense that could beat every offense team, then everyone would be spamming it out. No such team exists, so... But there are some teams that win against like 99% of offense teams you're generally going to face. And those are the kind of teams that get spammed out. Then there's people like me that meme and somehow manage to win with rigged circumstances. Like picking up exact kills and whatnot, but that's the name of the game. Doesn't matter if you got the exact kill, you got the exact kill, and that's all that matters. Here, Ascended Fjorm, as per usual, unable to pick up the kill. But Legendary Julia also can't pick up the kill because no follow-up attack shenanigans. And this season I decided to not run no follow-up on her, just to try out infantry speed tactic, which of course only works if she's within 2 spaces of Legendary Elm, and she would have to outspeed. So I was just giving it a try. Clearly no follow-up is too good. I don't know if Magic no follow-up is better on Legendary Julia than Light and Dark. The thing about Light and Dark is it can really, on its absolute peak, it can have a massive stat swing. Just imagine a double bonus doubler unit with the bonus doubler status from like Legendary Elwood. So with Soa +6 to all stats, all that bonus doubler stacking is, plus 18 to all stats, plus 24 overall field bust. Well, with Legendary Julia, you're like, sorry, no field bust for you. And then you also debuff by 5 to all stats. So at its absolute peak, it's a pretty large stat swing. Generally speaking as well, there's not much of a drawback to neutralizing the enemy's field buffs during combat. I think, I'm trying to think of, the only generic instance I could think of where it would matter is if you manage to figure out a shenanigan that allows you to survive an attack because the opponent didn't have their field. I guess, no, the more simpler one is, yeah, just taking enough damage from a unit's attacks. Because like Nino, for example, with Mystic Boost, she could definitely, like, even without Mystic Boost, occasionally she'll just straight up wall healers, but taking 0 damage. Or in the case of a not particularly recent match, but there was that one match where so bad. Nino was too tanky and didn't take enough damage from Dual Elise because her only damage output was Poetic Justice. Yeah, that was awkward. Here we are, end of the season. As expected, plenty of losses, but did get a few wins here and there. Overall, didn't lose too much lift, and we do have a chance to still lose lift, but the most we can lose is 30, so we guarantee tier 38. Probably top 6k, maybe a little lower. Again, not too much of a concern for us. Resonant battles here, super straightforward because we have the Chroms and Harmonized Roy. For damage output, Allegiance battle is pretty standard. At this point, most of these modes we're just reaping the rewards from our investment way back when. Of course, technically speaking, it doesn't pay off in some respects. It'll never pay off in some respects, but we did pick up our 1 copy of Legendary Hinoka pretty quick on our summoning, so we're able to use her this week to easily cruise through back into tier 21. Probably not going to compete to stay because she's only +0, and our only other Fire Legendary hero is Luna, as you can see. We're running this whole red squad, but because Legendary Hinoka's damage output's okay, she's able to still shred blue units even, but Legendary Luna could also shred some blues with her AoE shenanigans. So pretty solid overall. Legendary Hinoka is definitely going to fall off at some point though, if not already, Kappa. Just because she's essentially the pinnacle. The thing that's gonna make her last longer than a generic nuke is the fact that she can prevent counterattacks. That is definitely a huge boon, and of course having the dealt damage based off of her speed, which again combos with her no counterattack shenanigans, this means you're not going to really lose out on investment if you go ham on speed. You have 100 speed, which is not too far-fetched, honestly. You can get a reasonable amount of damage off of her, just her speed alone. But yeah, she's running Deadeye on her base kit, which is fine. But definitely, I've already seen her get walled in Arena by some particular units we'll not name. But for some, against a lot of generic save units and whatnot, definitely super solid. And of course against units that she should really excel against, like Brave Edelgard. Yeah, the fact Brave Edelgard can't even counter is definitely a problem. And of course she's a green armor with no damage reduction on the first attack unless you tech it into her kit, so at least she's going to do well against those kinds of units for a while. Other than that, Arena Assault pretty straightforward. 1 run and done shenanigans, easy top 1k. Nothing to say much there, so we'll be back when the results drop in.